I didn't have time to prepare everything that I wanted to for this video this week because between going to physiotherapy and occupational therapy 3 times a week and pretty much being back to work full time, light duties, but still almost full time. And then also partway through the week, I was hit with a flare up, which knocked me right off my feet for a few days. I'm not completely recovered, but doing so much better. But yeah, I was pretty much out of commission for a couple of days there. So I thought about just not finishing this in time to get out today, but I didn't want to do that. So here we are, and I'm gonna share with you a couple of things. Something we were working on last weekend was painting the bedroom and putting up some decorative stuff, some photographs and things in the bedroom on the wall, because we've had nothing on the walls ever in the bedroom. And we moved into this place in the end of 2015, I think, and now we're 2024. And also the colors that were in the bedroom were very cold and like gray, blue. It was a very cold feeling in there. It just didn't feel very cozy. And winter here in Montreal is long and cold. It felt like the colors of outside were in our bedroom, kind of. So we went to the paint store. We looked through some samples, and I don't know, we were looking at all these pinks for some reason. We were really had our hearts set on painting the bedroom pink, and then came home with a little sample can of paint called hummus, which, as you can imagine, is not pink at all, but hey. Anyways, so I'll share a little bit of the transformation that did happen over the last week or so, I guess, in the bedroom, just because it's cute, and I think it's cute anyway. And also, I always get really inspired when I see other people doing stuff like that. And I've been meaning to get to this for just like, I don't know, probably 2 years at least, probably longer, honestly. And I keep saying I'm going to do it. I bought the picture frames probably 1.5 years ago and just never got any photos printed. And anyways, when I see other people doing these little transformations and stuff like that in their homes and creating sacred space and little cozy areas, I always get super inspired. So I'll just share a little snippet of what we did, and maybe that'll inspire some of you who have been wanting to do the same thing and putting it off also. I'm also sharing with you one of my favorite soups to make, especially when I am feeling like I need some comfort, some coziness, and that's minestrone soup, which actually I spent pretty much my entire life convinced that I couldn't stand. And one day I saw a recipe in a magazine for it. I saw the picture and I was like, ooh, that looks really good. And when I saw it was minestrone, I was like, oh, too bad I don't like that soup. That's really too bad. But I still had to look at the ingredients, and I thought, why do I not like the soup? I like everything that's in it. And so I decided to give it a try because, I realized that the only time I'd ever actually tried minestrone was when someone else served it to me, and it was from a can. I'm not sure how. I just wrote off such an incredible dish. Such a comforting, cozy, delicious, and nutritious soup, just because I tasted it out of a can once and was like, no. Just one of those weird associations. I didn't remember that whole time that it had been from a can. I just had it in my head that I didn't like it. Anyways, I did try the recipe. I loved it, and I make minestrone all the time. It's an Italian soup that doesn't actually have a set recipe. And in fact, the ingredients that go into it and whether it's like thicker or thinner varies from region to region in Italy, and probably honestly from kitchen to kitchen. Because my understanding is basically it's a soup that has pasta and lots of veggies and beans in it. So, I mean, that leaves you quite a wide variety to choose from. Even the name of it comes from the word minestra, which means, I think, just hearty vegetable soup. It's not zuppa, which is maybe would be more, zuppa would be like a tomato soup or a fish soup or maybe a lighter soup appetizer or something like that. But whereas minestrone, like minestra, would be like a soup that was like more satiating. For the beans, I used white navy beans. For the pasta d'Italia or ditalini, which is little short pasta tubes, I love them. I don't know why. I always think of minestrone when I see them. Remember, one of the fun parts of this recipe is that you can use whatever vegetables and pasta and beans that you want or happen to have on hand. So for onions, the only onions I had in the house were cipollini, and they are sweeter than a yellow onion. Of course, you can use yellow onion. White onion is going to be sweeter. Red onion would also be really good, and it's somewhere in between, like the sweetness of a white Spanish onion and then the more intense yellow onion. Of course, I'm going to add garlic. You can leave it out if you want to. Like I said, this is entirely customizable, this soup. I'm just showing you the way that I like to make it, but what's important is that you enjoy the food that you eat, so you put in your soup whatever it is that you like the most. I used up the last of the celery that we had in the fridge, and I love celery so much. Whenever I'm making anything with celery in it, I feel like I end up eating half of this, half of it while I'm cutting it up. Celery has such a delicate taste, but it actually really adds a lot of flavor to anything that you're cooking with it. I add some sweet carrots that are packed with beta carotene, so good for you. And I just cut those into little bite-sized pieces. I use fresh green beans. I've used frozen before, that works just as well. A lot of these vegetables will work just as well frozen, like the carrots, even the kale that I'm going to put in as well. I add some zucchini. I add some kale, which sometimes can be chewy. So this particular kale is a bit tough, so I'm going to cut it pretty small. You can saute your onions, garlic, and celery in some olive oil, but I actually did a water saute for this soup. I decided not to put oil in the recipe, and I just sauteed them in the water until the onions were tender and starting to become translucent. Then I added my green beans and my carrots, and I let that simmer for a little bit until they started to become a bit tender. I added some vegetable broth. and the zucchini, and I let that cook for a little while. And then I added some fresh chopped parsley. When the zucchini started to become tender, I added my already cooked navy beans. I also added some passata or tomato puree, as well as some canned diced tomatoes. I know some people like to cook their pasta on the side, but if it's small, I'll usually add it directly to the soup because the pasta starch will help thicken the soup up and make it more hearty. I also wait until the end when the pasta is going in to add the kale because the kale will overcook if I put it in the beginning with all the other vegetables. And that is all there is to it, and you have a nice, thick, comforting, delicious, nutritious minestrone. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. It means everything to me. It really, really does. And if you are a Patreon subscriber, I can't thank you enough for believing in what I'm doing, for helping to contribute to it and make this channel possible. And if you would like to work one-on-one with me for nutrition or naturopathy, there is a booking link in the description below.